Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on church stories. I am Oni Opala. Let's begin. Southern Cameroons is sinking deeper into a state of heavy crisis as multiple overlapping issues continue to paralyze daily life and endanger the people. From the overflowing trash bins of Douala and Yaoundé to the blood-stained alleys of Bamenda, the nation is grappling with a convergence of neglect, violence, and decay. Basic public services have collapsed under the weight of unpaid debt and systemic dysfunction, most glaringly in the country's capital cities where garbage has become a permanent fixture due to the government's staggering 7.7 billion franc CFA debt to Hisakam, the primary waste management company. Across urban and rural areas alike, Ambazonians are forced to navigate catered road, chronic power outages, and absence of clean water or health services. In cities like Bamenda, these hardships are compounded by a terrifying surge in mysterious deaths and violent murders. The most recent case involving a woman who was killed shortly after publicly speaking with her son in the U.S. during a wake-up in the former Synergies neighborhood has left the community shaking and fearful. With no bullet wounds and her phone missing, her death remains shrouded in mystery, emblematic of the broader insecurity gripping their Ambazonian community. As infrastructure crumbles, essential services vanishes, and public safety deteriorates, the Ambazonian people are left to question how much longer they must endure these multiplying crises in silence. Now let's get the prime headlines. For the prime headlines tonight, Bamenda in shambles, mother jealousy and betrayal on the rise, exacerbating an already deteriorating security. Ambazonian State Army for Street La Republic Cameroon Army moves in Boyo County, killing one. Also tonight, to take a look at La Republic Cameroon cabbage crisis, a symptom of deeper issues. Paul Biya's government owing a staggering 7.7 billion francs CFA. Also tonight, La Republic Cameroon Disinformation campaign backfires as Yaoundé fires video fails public distrust. On the African scene, Mali arrests 45 soldiers, including 2 generals, over alleged plot to destabilize government. While on the global scene, Australia to recognize Palestinian state at UN in September. Now let's get the news in full detail. Over the weekend, hearts were heavy and eyes filled with tears as Ambazonia laid to rest one of his most cherished sons, Vice President Mr. Erikate, in an emotional and dignified ceremony in Minnesota. Surrounded by his loving family, grandchildren, and close friends, Mr. Ete's funeral was held at a Catholic church in Minnesota, where prayers mingled with sobs and heartfelt tributes echoed through the sanctuary. It was more than a barrier. It was a moment of deep reflection for a nation in mourning. The Ambazonian government paid its highest respects, granting Mr. Ete a state burial in full recognition of his tireless efforts in the ongoing struggle for liberation. The air was thick with sorrow, but also pride, as various Ambazonian leaders and dignitaries sent in messages of condolence and gratitude. Their words painted a portrait of a man whose vision, courage, and dedication helped shape the course of a people's quest for freedom. Mr. Ete's passing on the 16th of June 2025 marked a profoundly sensitive period for Ambazonians, at home and abroad. His death has left a void not easily filled, a guiding light extinguished in the midst of a storm. Among the key representatives who stood in solidarity with the family were Dr. Patience Abiedu, Dr. Yaya, and Chair Sheyimbo, and a host of others, each paying tribute to a man whose legacy will continue to inspire generations. As the casket was lowered and final prayers whispered, one truth lingered in every heart. Mr. Ete may be gone, but his dream for a free and just Ambazonia lives on. Now let's get some videos of what happened over the weekend. All right, and for 2 weeks now, or should we say since the month of June that these deaths happen, it's been an emotional and also a very sensitive period for Ambazonians in general, to the point where most of the activities were grounded. But we are at this point, the burial has been done for the vice president. And Barrister Mbeseha, you were here over the weekend. And meanwhile, welcome to Undaunted, and apologies that we're starting the news tonight on a very, very sad note. But then, it is what it is. Welcome to Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
right, so you were here over the weekend when this burial was taking place, and we tried to bring images from Minnesota down to show the people on how he was buried and all of the things that went on. 2 weeks back to back, Ambazonians have buried two prominent, hard-working members of the Ambazonian government. This is happening in a very sensitive period, but it has happened. How will, or what will the government, or what do you think the government will be doing from now going forward? Are the positions going to be replaced immediately? What are the options on the plate?
Well, I don't know how soon they'll be replaced, but sure they would, because they are dead and not coming back, and therefore that vacancy must be filled. And so, again, their death, the death of the two icons, is just symbolic, because we've lost generals in active service, we've lost colonels, we've lost many, many other people in this struggle. And so last week I said, over the weekend I said, when someone dies, the issue is, the question we ask ourselves, what has he left behind, he or she left behind, to be remembered for? That's what is important, because they're not coming back. But as you said in your earlier introduction, Ate is dead, but his memories of Ambazonia remain intact. And so that's what we take home. He didn't die alone. As I said, the week before we buried Maya and Emma. This week we buried VP Ate. But before them, we heard about the death of Field Marshals, Red Dragon, and so on and so forth. It's just a reminder what they left behind. I remember Field Marshal, when they asked me one time, when the Ate was on Twitter, and he said, I'm a soldier who fight to liberate Ambazonia, no matter who is the leader. And so if we transcend it down here to what is happening and what Ate said, his last words were, continue to fight, fight and fight. And again, I've said before, he was not the first to say that. Bamenda had told us earlier, he died 2-3 years ago, that you have to fight. We don't have a reserve, we don't have to reserve part of this battle for our children. Our parents died, some were not fighting, but were taking up arms to defend what is rightly ours. And so again, whenever these positions are filled, when they are replaced, the only thing we want the people who take over from them is the spirit of fighting, the spirit of liberation. Let them inherit their offices, let them inherit the offices together with the spirit and the vision that they had. Ate, if you see from the pictures, he was not just an Ambazonian fighter. He was not just a politician. He was a human being. From those pictures, that's cultural celebration. We know that here in our own tradition, when someone dies, you find those cultural organizations. They're coming to Bagi and Jange. In other words, you were active in those groups, or your family was there. And so he was first and foremost a family man. He was secondly, or first again, he was a man of the community. And most importantly, as a politician, he was a leader. He was a VP. And so he was everything to everybody. We wish him goodbye. But again, those positions were refused. Sooner or later they would. But what he said last before he died was, don't forget to liberate Ambazonia. And in keeping with that call, we shall not fail him. We hope when we get to Buya, some monuments will be put up for them. But while waiting for when we get to Buya, we should always remember them on every single occasion when we have the opportunity to do so. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. In as much as we know that, you know, all of this, like you said, life happens. People may get missing along the way. People may lose their lives along the way, either through the war, like the generals, or through life patterns like illness, and then all of that happens. Are there benefits for people who dies of inactive service, or will the benefits be enjoyed when Ambazonian gets independence? Probably their families or something.
Well, I don't know whether I will be part of the team that will get to Buya because I'm old myself. But if I successfully get to Buya, and I have to say, as I've just said, these people are not going to be forgotten. They didn't die in vain. At the very least, if we don't have money to give them, if we don't have gold cups and gold spoons to give them, will at least be monuments for them. Monuments are richer than money because they remain there forever. If we give the widows, their descendants cash, of course they're going to spend it and the money will be gone. But if we be a monument for them, or monuments for them, those monuments remain there forever and ever. Because if you go to Douala, Yaoundé, you find places called Charles de Gaulle Street. But not just forget about that. Not just remain in Ambazonia. If you go to Nkwen, you find a place they call Foncha Avenue. Foncha is dead. We don't know where he got any benefits from politics. But that avenue remains there to think of what he is. He was to us, especially in Nkwen. So monuments will put up for them. But that will be the decision of the government when we get to Buya. For now, we don't have the resources either to build monuments or to compensate their families in any financial way. But the best we've done up to this point is that if those who transition at this time, the best we can do for them is to give them a befitting burial to the best of our ability, to the best of what we can afford. And we did so to VP Ate. We did so to Mahema. And so there's a place in heaven for everybody. By connection, there will be a place for everybody who will get to Buya. Sooner or later, they will be compensated. Either in any form, they would be. That's my suggestion. I don't know. But that will be my advice when they get to Buya.
Thank you so much, Barrister. We'll definitely have all of that. Let's get into some other stories for today. Moving into Bamenda. This report says the Bamenda is facing an unprecedented crisis with a string of mysterious deaths and brutal murders that have left residents shaken. The last victim, a woman who had a chat with her son in the USA in public, met her untimely demise under unclear circumstances. According to eyewitnesses, the woman had gone to a wake-keep ceremony in the formal Synergy's neighborhood when she suddenly received a call from her child in the USA. She stepped outside to answer the call and was later found dead in a nearby farm, with no signs of bullet wounds or her phone on her. This tragic incident has sparked widespread concern and outrage, with many pointing to the growing wave of jealousy murders in the city. It appears that some individuals are resorting to extreme measures to eliminate friends and relatives they are envious of. The situation in Bamenda has become increasingly dire, with terrorism, high crime rates, and now seemingly a culture of jealousy-driven violence. Residents are advised to exercise extreme caution and vigilance, as it seems that even those closest to people may pose a threat. The colonial government of dictator Paul Biya has failed to address the root causes of this crisis and ensure the safety and security of the citizens. Until then, the people of Bamenda will continue to live in fear and uncertainty. In a city where jealousy and betrayal seem to be rampant, it is essential to prioritize safety and well-being and keep your success, joys, and movement private and be cautious of those around. The people of Bamenda deserve better, and it is time for the colonial regime to take responsibility for the welfare of citizens. Barrister Mbeseha, while compiling this report, One thing kept running through my head. What would have happened? Her phones were taken away, because I was thinking probably, who knows, probably she just slumped and died. But the report confirmed that when people went to the spot, her phones were no longer there, meaning she would have been attacked, right? She would have been attacked in a way where you may not be able to trace anything. Well, this is just a report that has dropped today. We would hope to see what comes out of it. But in a circumstances where someone leaves a funeral to the corner to take a call and never returns to continue with the wake she went for, what kind of insecurity can this be addressed to?
Well, I think you have said it all. There's insecurity. This is not the type of thing that we're talking about. See, there are different levels of insecurity in the human society, in Ambazonia, and anywhere else in the world. Most of those ones are addressed by government services. If you shoot somebody in the street and kill, the government is expected to have the apparatus, the instruments, to trace the killer and then bring him or her to justice. That's at the level of the administration. If someone collapses and dies, there should be institutions to determine the cause of death. Is it a heart failure? Is it poison? Or what? A rare government should have those things available. That's why you pay taxes. In the modern world, 2025, there's nothing that we should be talking about like witchcraft, be it in Bamenda or anywhere else. Those are fictitious, non-existent things. There should be scientific analysis to get it out. But are those services available? Zero. There's total absence of governance. But back to that woman's death. That woman's death is not something you call mysterious. No. A woman who goes to answer a phone call, collapses and she's dead. They come there, can no longer find her phone. It may be jealousy. It is someone who has killed her. It is someone who has taken away her phone. It's a physical human being. It's not witchcraft. And therefore, a government should ought to have the good luck, if they ever had any sense of government there, is that they have taken the phone. There are devices, there are strategies to trace phones. Modern strategies, very simple. You can trace your phone sitting there. If somebody stole your phone, you can track your phone. We little under $200 or 200 euros. And the government of Cameroon is unable to do these sort of things. He said, we're waiting for more information. No, don't expect anything. The next thing is that by tomorrow or maybe today, the woman will be buried. And if government has nothing to say, they will tell you investigations are ongoing. That's just all. In Cameroon, investigations are the closure to things they don't want to do. If that woman, for example, were the wife or the daughter or the relative to a Tanganji, I can guarantee you they would have been looking for the killers. If she were the daughter, the wife, the sister to Lele Africa, has to be a different story. And so it is not mysterious. No, the evidence is not mysterious. The evidence showed that she was talking. She went somewhere. She answered calls. Someone killed her. And her phone disappeared. That's not mystery. That's not mystery. It's a human being who has done all that. But that human being will not be punished. Because the government either deliberately or for some reasons is not willing to investigate those things. Are these investigations so difficult? No. For example, you and me can do cyber security, even online. You don't need to go to a police school in London or in Paris to learn those things. But that is necessary. And so it don't cost too much money. That's not what is above the government of Cameroon to do. To have a squad that can investigate those are common law crimes. Pulling people's phones and running away with them It's even common here in the US. Only way around the civilized world is not mystery. But they always track down those people and catch them. Because a phone is not created by witchcraft. It's created by a human being. And so in the phone that you and me carry, there are instruments of how you can track it down. It is built in such a way that they can be traced. Phones are all over the world now. And so it's not a mystery. That woman just died. Yes. She was killed. Yes. There are many others before her. Insecurity is around the corner, everywhere in Bamenda, everywhere in Ambazonia. To me, I've said many times before, insecurity laid there by the state. One thing sure, to punish Ambazonians for daring to challenge them. And so again, you hear something, if you go to the governor's office, to the chief of police or gendarme, they will tell you investigations are continuing. Which investigations? They have never come out with any results of investigations. That's a human crime. Where are the investigations of Garbu? Where are the investigations of the children killed in Mauritania school in Kumba? Where are they? And so again, poor woman, I'm sorry for that. Poor mother. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves here. It should never have happened to us, but it has happened. So what can we do? We have to liberate ourselves and build from where we met it. So there can be security around. Let us forget about this witchcraft. There's nothing like witchcraft that came and killed a woman. Somebody killed her. Maybe it was jealousy. That's correct. They killed her because they wanted to steal her phone or to steal some money she took from her son or daughter, whatever. That is pure. Jealousy is human. It's not witchcraft. And so, again, to me, I dismiss that nonsense of witchcraft in these circumstances. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Barrister Mbeseha. But we'll wait to see. We'll follow up this report, and we'll wait to see what the SQs would be, or what the report in general would be. All right, ahead, let's get to this act of bravery unfolded in Mbingo County as a colonial army sergeant, Ngapacho, was ambushed and neutralized by Ambazonian State Army. Another colonial military accompanying him sustained injuries during the attack. Eyewitnesses report that La Republic de Cameroon army, out of frustration of not being able to retaliate against a more determined ASA, tend to vent their inability on the innocent population, invading the surrounding area and physically assaulting them. The witness described the scene as chaotic, with La Republic de Cameroon colonial soldiers targeting civilians in response to the ambush. The incident highlights the ongoing security challenges faced by the innocent population in Ambazonia, where tensions between La Republic de Cameroon forces and ASA continues to simmer. The attack and subsequent retaliation have raised concerns about the safety and well-being of civilians caught in the midst of the conflict. As the situation remains volatile, residents are advised to exercise caution and stay informed about developments in Mbingo. With all these casualties, the Paul Biya regime is not opting for a genuine dialogue to resolve the crisis, yet he opts for a more costly military option, which everyone sees as expensive. It's expensive because lives are lost. It's expensive because the people are being affected in different ways. It's expensive because even soldiers in La Republic de Cameroon are losing their lives. Barrister Mbeseha, using civilians as a shield, using civilians as a trap, is against the international law, which you have expanded and you have also tried to explain, and you've condemned these actions over and over and over again. But right about now, it seems like it is part of La Republic de Cameroon's strategy to weaken Ambazonians or the ASA, as the case may be.
I think that is true, but it is larger than that. If the story, as you told is correct, you must ask yourself, you must ask us so many questions. We hear, I think this is true, that the guy who died was about to mount a control checkpoint. He's a soldier. He's a surgeon. I think it's a surgeon. He's a soldier. And so the question we ask is, what are surgeon military guys doing on the road mounting roadblocks? What are they doing? Is that what they're trained in military school? Military academy to come mount roadblocks on the road and collect money from people? That's not the work of a soldier. Soldiers are trained to defend the fatherland, essentially against foreign invaders. What are they doing in the middle of the cities, in the middle of the country? Are there foreign countries fighting at Cameroon inside Boyo? Does Boyo share any boundary with any foreign country? No. And so these are thieves trained by Yaoundé in the name of the military, in the name of security, whatever they call it. They call it mixed security. Put on the road to extort money from people. And that is what this guy was about to do. And then he ended up dying. Do you have anything to regret for that? No. He was a legitimate target. But the question we have to ask is, once a soldier is taken down legitimately in war, is that enough for the opponent to come and pour vengeance on the population, kill your mother, my father, my children, and burn your house? That is a war crime. And so these people, what they are doing is shameless. It is a sign of that they have been completely defeated. Because no country lets its army loose to go and harass the population. Just before we came on this news, I saw another incident, which happened in Bamenda, somewhere there, where one of those soldiers was supposed to have been transferred from Karawa or somewhere. He came down. He wanted to look for women in the night or in the evening. He went down to look for his girlfriends, and Kari is gone. Well, when his friend saw him with the gun, maybe on top of his girlfriend or whatever thing, he shot and killed him. And then later they saw they thought it was an Amba. They thought they were killing Amba. But they didn't know that it was wrong. Yes. And so this is a ruthless army that has gone wild. That can kill anything in the name of Amba. And so again, as far as this particular incident is concerned, this guy was a legitimate target. He should not have been where he was. Even he should not have been there. But he was there. And the ASA had it over him. I can congratulate the ASAs for doing a good job. And then again, as Yaoundé, war is killing. But war is killing the legitimate target. Your soldiers in uniform are legitimate targets against our ASAs. Our parents, our children who live in their homes are not legitimate target for you. And so there's no justification for going down to shoot people as you have always done. They have been doing that forever with impunity. And so again, and also these young men join this military thing all because they want to have some food and bread to eat. But even if you join it and they tell you the salary is just 10,000 francs, call it like that, or 20. If you don't like it, what do you go and join it? What do you join it to go and on the road and extort money from people? If that guy had remained in his military base, probably he would not have died. He went out to hunt. He went fishing for money where he did not deserve it. But he fell. So be it. If I saw our ASA who brought him down, I would decorate him. Give a decoration for a good job. And so that's it. That's the pretext they use to come and kill our people. But as long as this war continues, we'll bring them down where we can find them. With the utility weapons that we can find, an eye for an eye. And as long as we come down and hunt our people, kill our children and mothers, kill unarmed people, the day is coming, they are going to answer. Because killing unarmed civilians is genocide. Genocide is punishable under the ICC laws. Over to you.
You're right. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Let's head over to La Republic de Cameroon. Well, La Republic de Cameroon is grappling with a severe garbage crisis, with the country owing a staggering 7.7 billion francs FA to Hisacam, the primary waste management company. Now, this debt, unchanged since June 2024, has crippled Hisacam's ability to effectively collect waste, leaving streets overflowing with trash and dump sites busting at the seams. Despite the assistance of Taikov cell in some area, the situation remains there, posing a significant health risks to citizens due to poor hygiene. The root cause of the problem lies in the colonial government's struggle to pay for waste collection services, with local councils reliant on national government funding, which accounts for approximately 85% of the cost. At 0.5% tax on imports introduced in 2019 to support waste management, it has raised concerns about transparency and accountability, with many questioning where the funds are being allocated. The annual cost of effective garbage collection in Yaoundé alone is estimated at 15 billion francs CFA, a sum the colonial government seemed unable to provide. This crisis is not just about funding, it's also a matter of leadership and political will. Without transparency and accountability in waste management, the situation will likely continue to deteriorate. So here are the key issues to note in this report. 7.7 billion francs EFA owed to HISACA, poor waste management and health risk. That's not all lack of transparency in fund allocation. That's not all insufficient colonial government funding, and also need for effective leadership and political will. Let us not also forget that the inability of the colonial government to allocate funds for proper waste management is because all financial attention has been tilted to fund the war in Ambazonia. And so, Barrister Mbeseha, when we get reports of the same garbage being seen in the streets of Ambazonia, from Bamenda to Crumbles to Victoria to all of the vital areas, Ambazonians are crying, oh, we might get diseases, infections, and here cholera and all of those diseases related to dirt and improper hygiene or improper hygiene, as the case may be. But here we have, even in La Republic de Cameroon, suffering from even worse situation. At this point, Ambazonians should just know that they have to save themselves. Tell us something different if I'm wrong.
Well, when we talk about waste management, we have addressed this issue before. Waste collection, that's what we call garbage collection. And you rightly say the people are taxed for that. But who in his or her normal senses will think that collection of garbage in due town, collection of garbage in Akwaya town, in Manfe town, in Umijok, should be the responsibility of some government 500 kilometers away in Yaoundé? Who in his or her right thinking mind would think that that is how it works? If the people in Akwaya, Jala in Yabasi, or in other town, cannot collect their own waste, you expect somebody else to do it from Yaoundé. I'm sure if you look through the fine prints of that thing they call Hasaka, it's a company, they say they owe them 7 billion. If you look through the fine print, who owns this company? Probably will be owned by a minister, somebody highly placed in Yaoundé, created to steal money from the people. And then we're talking about waste collection. What they are doing, if they even do it, they are postponing the problem. There's a distinction between waste collection and waste management. They collect that thing, if they do ever collect, from one street and dump it in the next street. And it remains there, it poses the same danger. This is not an imagination. I went to Boya last, a few years back, and they were still collecting that thing. They were collecting that thing from Boya down, everywhere around Boya Moleko. And what they did was they took it in a tractor and dumped it 500 yards from Munya, which is the center of town now. It didn't spill over and was blocking the road. What prevents these people from doing waste management? Is that something that is so expensive or so difficult to do? No. It's something that you and me could even do by ourselves. I've told the story of I had an uncle of mine who was a sanitary inspector in the West Cameroon days. As a sanitary inspector, we had these weekly market days in the villages. he was able to build something they call an incinerator. There's something built out of mud. You collect the waste from the market, cocaine leaves, whatever thing the people used, and the thing was burnt there. The next market, you're not going to find paper there. Nobody is facing any health challenge. This is as simple as that. I'm not sure that my uncle was even earning up to 10,000 as a salary. But he worked in Banso, he worked everywhere. And wherever he was a sanitary inspector, they collected waste, they collected garbage, and then disposed of it. That's management. They burnt it. But technology has shown that rather than burn it, that thing will bring them more money. And so who believes that it is above, even if it is 7 billion, why are they owing him 7 billion? 7 billion is not even 1/10 of the budget of the presidency for fuel alone. The presidency is all found in Yaoundé, but they have fuel budget that is more than a ministerial budget. For the presidency to drive from Yaoundé to Nkambe, from Yaoundé to Garoua, or what? Is this 7 billion that's above them? If this is what is necessary. If they float the company, they are unable to pay the company, what are they doing? They are holding their hands over their head. The last I saw last week was the prime minister pulling some money, maybe it was his own personal money, to give to the mayor of Boya to help him clean the town, get back to clear the garbage from town. Mr. Dion Gute using his own money to do that. Well, how much can the prime minister, if you have all the money in the world, pull out of his pocket to go and clean the garbage in Boya town? Why was he doing that? Because it was an embarrassment. He was just in Boya. It was a total embarrassing for him to stand there in a heap infested garbage and purportedly addressing people. Why was he doing this? Last week I said, who had this thing of government prefer, wearing, driving good cars. I said, those cars, they don't own them. You rather give a mayor a 4-wheel drive, 2-3 of them, which costs more than his salary 10 times over in a year, than to clean the garbage in town. And the mayor would drive in that thing. He was supported by his bosses, who are the divisional officers. And I'm training. When the garbage is so much by there, closing the street, what would the people do? They go to complain to the DO. They don't even talk to the mayor. They go to the DO. The sheriff there. Who will tell you, like we said in the last segment, investigations are ongoing. We'll see what to do. And that's the end of it. And so this is not what we signed up for. Before this segment started, I was reading the speech of Frontier on 1st of October 1961, called it Independence Speech. Frontier, among other things, said the nucleus of his government, the government that they were trying to enter in, should be the village. The village is center of the government, because that's where the people live. The village chief, he mentioned, should be our assistance. The village chief should be able to organize people, pick that garbage, destroy it, or do something with it. That's where confidence starts. Under the Frontier idea, the village chief was not supposed to be a surrogate of the party, clapping for them when the party uniforms don't get money. These are things that the villages could do. And of course, in Bamenda, you're talking about, well, all these mighty kingdoms in Bamenda, they fund this, Bafoot, fund of Mancom, fund of this and that. Whose population are they controlling? What are they saying about that garbage? Other than wearing CPD uniforms and running around and taking money from government. And so it's shameful. If it were purely an Ambazonian issue, I would say it is a punishment. But since the thing spread to Yaoundé and Douala, I would say it's a sign of incompetence, a sign of lack of governance, a sign of total failure of state institutions. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Still in neighboring colonial republic to Cameroon, the government defensive response to a viral video showing a possible fire in Yaoundé Congress Hall has been met with deep public suspicion. While officials were quick to label the footage a fabricated montage, the public sees the move as a desperate attempt to suppress a growing national distrust that has been fueled by years of government deception and political repression as the 2025 October election approaches. In a defensive statement, management of the Yaoundé Congress Hall in neighboring La République du Cameroon claimed the fire had occurred had the claimed no fire had occurred, I beg your pardon, dismissing the video as a crude montage. This immediate and heavy-handed denial, however, only amplified public concern. The La République du Cameroon regime had a long and documented history of deploying propaganda to control narratives, especially in the sensitive lead up to elections. For many, this incident is seen not as a threat to public safety, but as another attempt by the state to quash a narrative that challenges its image of absolute control. The colonial administration's threats of legal action against those who share the video are nothing new. This is a usual intimidation tactics, a common tool used by the regime to silence critics and curb free expression. The public's widespread distrust is not random, but built on a history of suspicious incidents at key national institutions, including a major fire at the Colonial National Assembly building. For a population where the state has repeatedly failed to address the ongoing Ambazonian war and has a well-known history of covering up its failures, citizens have learned to believe the images they see online more than the statements they hear from a government they no longer trust. Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, I don't see anything new in what they are doing. They have done that all the time for the past 10 years. See, when faced with challenges, they create the montage, they create something as a distraction. Remember, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a fire at the National Assembly. The National Assembly is such a strategic wing of the government. There was a fire there. How could fire occur in the National Assembly? And so when they are faced with difficulties anywhere, they create an attention. They create something that would distract others. Especially, again, I should rather say, in times of elections. When they realized that they were going to lose the election, they created Camto. Camto goes to France. He wants to come back. They create an incident. The town is blocked. They deploy the military there. For a single man coming out of a private plane, the plane never paid first class. And so the center then was, the issue was, oh, Camto is a danger. Merely coming back from France is dangerous. And so the creators of these things themselves to distract us. Sometimes they are created for political reasons. They would do the fire if they want to do it. Remember that in 2019, when the war was on their neck, what did they do? They burnt Sonara. That's fire. They burnt it. And the whole idea was, and still remains, was how to move Sonara from Victoria to Krabi. That's the central theme behind it. They could not remove the structure. They have to look for a way to do it. They bent what was there. And they could not rebuild it. Why? Because they told us, we don't know, there's no insurance. That thing did not have insurance. How could we have a Sonora without insurance? A refinery without insurance? That was the excuse not to rebuild it. But a few years into it, we found what they were trying to do. They've done exactly that. They've abandoned the bent down structure and they are building a modern refinery in Krabi. Is this politically strategic? Of course. They were trying to divert attention, especially because of the war. Because if they just came that time and said, well, we're taking this Sonora thing from here to here. Anglophones, they call them, we shout out. They have to create this first. And then come up next 2 years, 3 years after and say, okay, we're moving Sonora. And create another phantom of a memorandum of understanding. Send out your own brothers and sisters to go and say the doctrine. Among them, the Prime Minister. They are not moving Sonora. Next 48 hours, the whole thing is moved. And so fire in Palais de Congrès, at this time, Real or fictional is a distraction. They wanted whoever made that montage was to distract the political tension on the spot. Which other thing? I saw it myself. Smoke was coming out. It was a montage, yes. And so what have they done? They have everything that they can control. They control cyber security. They can know where the thing was mounted from. Like any other case, like the one we said before. If you ask them, how did this thing come out? They'll tell you investigations are ongoing. If you were the one who did it, somebody didn't like, they'll catch you like was easy and take it to jail. And so it's a montage, it's a political distraction to cover for their eventual electoral fraud. So they say, well, Mali the Congress will never be destroyed, they lied, and so on and so forth. And so that's what they are. They are criminals in cyber security. They are criminals in cash stealing. They are criminals in phone theft. Everything I can find in the world can be attributed to these people. I don't know what God made them. The God their own creator is not the same God that created all of us. Because no God will create sinners to that extent. Criminals in open daylight, without remorse, committing crimes over other human beings. Adults, I may be mistaken. If they had a God who created them, I distance myself from that God. Over to you.
Of course. And still in La Republic de Cameroon, La Republic de Cameroon's war in Ambazonia keeps escalating and is now turning against its own armed thugs. Having turned Ambazonia into a battlefield, even the colonial state forces are now not safe. Today, Monday, goes down lockdown. Colonial police officer in Bamenda neutralized his colleague, a soldier at close range, mistaking him for an Ambazonian fighter. The act was carried out based on mere suspicion that fortunately consumed one of BA's thugs. Earlier this afternoon, colonial soldier deployed from Gaura in La Republic de Cameroon's far north was shot dead by a colonial police officer in Seven Door Old Town neighborhood. According to a leaked security audio, the deceased, dressed in civilian clothes, had taken a colleague's weapon and ventured into a known area for drug sales. The patrolling colonial officer, operating in a kill-on-site environment created by the occupational state, saw a man with a gun and immediately opened fire without hesitation. According to him, the military man looked like an Ambazonian fighter, given that he was dressed as a civilian and carrying a weapon. This is the chaos the La Republic de Cameroon's government's military first strategy has inflicted upon the all zones of Ambazonia. For over 8 years now, countless innocent civilians have been executed on mere suspicion of being, in quotes, separatist fighter. Now, that indiscriminate violence has boomeranged with state forces turning on each other. The colonial government's policy of using overwhelming and unchecked force has blurred the lines between combatants and civilians so completely that its own personnel are now at risk. The regime's refusal to pursue a political solution has transformed the territory into a killing field where the very forces meant to enforce state control, as they claim, are now a deadly threat not only to each other but especially to the vulnerable population that have been terrorizing for years. Rice Mbeseha, thinking if they
Well,
were Ambazonians and Ambazonian fighters, the ASA, killing themselves. Terribly sad. Would you also
even
give
the
a
ASA,
medal to these ones?
even the ASA by mistake kill themselves, that is understandable. But the story is clear, this particular story. This gentleman who died was suspected of being an Amba. The killer was an official, a government official, who saw him at first sight and believed this is an Amba. What do you do? You kill him. No question asked. That's what we say in law, extrajudicial killings. Killing people without due process. That's what they've been doing to all the people they suspect to be Ambas. They kill you first, And since you're already there, no other questions to ask. Extrajudicial killing is a crime against humanity. These people ought to stand trial for all that. But now that one of theirs is the victim, do you expect any action to be taken against the killer? No, because you're suspected for being an Amba. The name Amba is a crime. Just the name. If you're Amba, you die. And that's what they have done to us throughout. It is because they suspect that a village, for example, they are supporters of Amba, that they will come there and burn down the whole village, including children. It is because by their own story, by their own narrative, it is because they thought that they were Amba fighters in Garbo, that they armed the people, gave them petrol, gave them match lights, go kill everybody in that village, burn their corpses, so nobody will ask you a question. And so this is a larger story. This is Ambazonia. That's a collateral damage according to them, because it is one of theirs who is dead. If it had been you or me, or your father or mine, no question will be asked. They will not wait for you to explain that that was not an Amba fighter. And so these are people I've said in the last segment. I don't know what God created them. That's the God of wickedness. They keep people at first sight, officially, not by mistake, armed by the government. People, by their own judgment, you think is a criminal. Maybe because you fell out with him or with her over a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you shoot and kill the guy. No question asked. And so, yeah, this doesn't happen. It's rare in the world. But the question is, these are things which are recorded publicly. Why is the world silent about this? Why are the French silent about it? Why are the British silent about it? I thought last week I saw something like that of some people from the British High Commissioner in Yaoundé going to inspect ballot processes in Boya. They will not say anything about this of extrajudicial killings. You say nothing. What's the French ambassador in Yaoundé, who was visited Bamenda several times, saying about this? Extrajudicial killings are not crimes, according to them. They are tolerated. They are tolerated as long as they are carried out against Ambazonians. No. Before being Ambazonians, we are human beings. We have the basic human rights that everybody has. The right to life, the right to be put on trial and for you to defend yourself. And so this is just one too many. It is not even Ambazonia, but it's symbolic for us to use this opportunity to tell the world that the most important thing is not Ambazonia, but the most important thing is that they killed him thinking that it's an Ambazonian. They thought it was an Ambazonian, they just killed him. Because nobody will ask us any question about that. Because in the name of one individual Cameroon, whoever voices a different thing, whoever opts out for any other thing different, just by talking, you are dead. And nobody will ask a question for you. And if you continue, your family will all be destroyed. The villages will be burnt. Your compound will be destroyed. Your children will be killed. This is not what the world was meant to be. This is not what Ambazonia signed up to in 1961. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. It's been an amazing 1 hour with you. Thank you so much for your thought-provoking analysis on all of this discussion that we've brought to the front bench. Most of these reports will definitely have follow-ups as the days come by, but for now, would want you to, go and have some rest, because tomorrow we'll definitely come back with new reports that would definitely need your thoughts. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me too.
You're welcome. And right after the break, we'll head into Mali to see what has happened to 45 Malian soldiers. At least 45 Malian soldiers, including two high-ranking generals, were arrested over the weekend in what authorities have described as an attempted plot to destabilize state institutions in the fragile West African nation. The arrests mark the latest in a series of internal power struggles and political turbulence in Mali, the country that has experienced multiple coups and remains under military rule since 2021. The government, led by a junta that took power after ousting the previous civilian administration, announced that the soldiers had been apprehended for their alleged involvement in activities aimed at undermining the country's stability and constitutional order. Among the detained is General Abbas Dambele, a prominent military figure and former governor of the Central Mopti region, known for his popularity within the armed forces and his strong connections in military circles. General Dembele has played a significant role in Mali's counter-terrorism efforts and regional security operations in the Central Sahel. His arrest, according to sources close to him, occurred early Sunday morning in a surprise operation on the outskirts of Bamako, the capital. Security forces reportedly apprehended Dambele without presenting a formal warrant or providing immediate justification for his detention, raising concerns about due process and the opacity of the government's actions. They took him without saying anything. No one knows what charges he's facing. This was said by a source close to the general, speaking on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the matter. While the Malian authorities have not released full details of the alleged destabilization attempt, a brief government statement describes the arrest as necessary to preserve public order and protect institutions of the republic. Analysts suggest the move could reflect deeper fractions within the military's elites as well as growing dissent against the transitional leadership. The political situation in Mali remains fragile amid ongoing conflicts with jihadist insurgencies, economic hardship, and strained relations with international partners. The ruling junta has promised to return the country to civilian rule, but the timeline has repeatedly shifted, sparking criticisms both domestically and abroad. The arrest of a figure as senior and respected as General Dambele could further deepen tensions within the armed forces, which have long played a central role in the country's political affair. Also, in a related story, more than 3 million displaced people in the Democratic Republic of Congo have returned to their homes as of July 2025. According to new data from the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the majority of those returns took place in the East provinces, with over 2 million people going back to their villages in North Kivu and more than 600,000 in South Kivu. The large-scale returns from AMIB reporters are reports of improved security in some areas previously affected by armed conflict. The OCHA data also shows a significant drop in the number of internally displaced persons across the country, decreasing from 6.9 million in 2024 to 5.9 million in 2025. While the situation remains fragile, humanitarian agencies have welcomed the returns as a sign of progress. However, they warn that many returnees still face challenges in accessing basic services, rebuilding their homes, and ensuring long-term stability. When we return right after the break, we'll take a walk into Australia, where Australia has recognized Palestinian state at the UN in September. Canberra Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has confirmed that Australia will formally recognize the state of Palestine at the United Nations General Assembly in September. The decision comes amid growing international and domestic pressure and marks a significant shift in Australia's foreign policy as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to escalate. Albanese made the announcement following a cabinet meeting in Canberra, where he emphasized that the situation in Gaza had surpassed the world's worst fears. The recognition is part of Australia's renewed push for a two-state solution, which the government sees as essential to achieving lasting peace and security for both Israelis and Palestinians. The recognition will be conditional. Australia has received assurances from the Palestinian Authority that any future Palestinian state will not include Hamas in its government. It will commit to the demilitarization of Gaza. It will hold free and fair elections and will recognize Israel's right to exist. These conditions were outlined as essential elements for recognition and have been reaffirmed by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The move aligns Australia with a number of Western nations, including France, the United Kingdom, and Canada, who have recently signaled similar intentions to support Palestinian statehood. The shift comes as international criticisms intensifies over the Israeli government's actions in Gaza, particularly the recent announcement by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of a new military offensive in the territory. The Israeli government has condemned Australia's decision. Netanyahu called the move shameful and warned that it risks legitimizing terrorism. Several Jewish organizations in Australia have also expressed concern, arguing that the recognition undermines efforts towards negotiated peace and could embolden extremist elements. While in contrast, the decision has been welcomed by members of the Labour Party, independent MPs, and advocacy groups. Labour Friends of Palestine praised the government for taking principled stand, while others within the party have described the recognition as long overdue. However, some Palestinian advocates have responded with skepticism. Nasser Marshini, president of the Australia-Palestine Advocacy Network, said the move was symbolic and insufficient unless accompanied by stronger action to end military cooperation with Israel. Australia's support for a two-state solution dates back to 1947, when it backed the United Nations petition plan that proposed the creation of both a Jewish and an Arab state. The formal recognition of Palestine follows years of debate within the Labour Party and comes after Foreign Minister Penny Wong and other senior figures called for action in response to the worsening humanitarian conditions in Gaza. The recognition is set to be formalized at the UN General Assembly in New York next month, where Australia will join an increasing number of nations pushing for the full diplomatic recognition of Palestine. The government maintains that this is not just a symbolic gesture, but a concrete step towards reinvigorating stalled peace efforts in the region. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. Well, on tonight's Undaunted, we told you that a farewell draped in tears and honor has been given to Pa Eric Ate. Also tonight, Bamenda in Shambles and mother jealousy betrayal on the rise, which has exacerbated an already deteriorating security. Tonight, we told you that Ambazonian State Army frustrates La Republic Cameroon Army moves in Boyo County. We took a look at the garbage crisis, which has been a symptom of deeper issues in President Paul Biya's government, as he owes a staggering 7.7 billion francs CFA. Also tonight, we told you the La Republic Cameroon disinformation campaign backfires as Yaoundé fire video fuels public distrust. We took a walk into Mali, where Mali arrests 45 soldiers, including 2 generals. On the That was on the African scene. While on the foreign scene, we told you that Australia is to recognize Palestinian state at the UN in September. That's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. On behalf of the team of technicians behind tonight's production, and of course from our in-house analyst barrister team based here, it's good night and God bless.